Jamie Kucey and her husband Reg live near Rossburn in the Riding Mountain region of western Manitoba, where they also work at their business called Inaka, which is the Japanese word for countryside. After Jamie retired from her career as an animal health technician a number of years ago, she took advantage of an opportunity to get started in woodworking.
And when I turned 40, my father passed away. He was from Hungary, and he had apprenticed as a carpenter and cabinet maker, and I inherited his hand tools. And after a few bad experiences with contractors, I decided, well, maybe we could do as good as someone else. So I went back to school just to learn how to build our own house.
Once their house was built, Jamie found herself in steady demand for her woodworking talents. She built this small table for a business in the city of Winnipeg.
They very much like to use local woods and local talent. So this is made out of just poplar branches that were hand sanded, and the base and the top is from 100-year-old siding.
The old siding and poplar branches both came from their yard, which was helpful for keeping the costs down since old siding has become very expensive and hard to find in recent years.
It doesn't look like much on the building, but when you get it all sanded and finished, it's a very, very textural, almost looks like molten chocolate or something. It's a very interesting material to work with. And the branches, we needed them of a certain diameter, so sometimes people look and say, well, it's just 3 branches, very easy to find, but the problem is finding the right branches with the right curve, because where it joins here is different than it joins here, and it has to be aesthetically pleasing.
This is a piece of Manitoba maple, also known as box elder, which produces maple syrup. Due to its high sugar content, it's often a very unusual-looking wood.
That means that it will rot very easily, whether if it has mechanical damage from the actual maple spouts going in, or sometimes mineral content or other fungus gets in it, gets this beautiful red grain. And I found this log on Crown land. So I got a permit to take down the tree, and when the sawyer cut it in half, this looked like it was just going to be garbage, maybe not even firewood.
But instead of discarding this wood, Jamie went to work on it with various woodworking tools, and soon the red grain in it started to stand out.
So I used everything from a chainsaw to a dental pick on here just to follow the grain lines in and out. And when I was finished, I ended up with a very nice hollow, beautiful piece of wood, but didn't know what to do with it. So I chose to elevate it up on fiberglass and metal on, again, a Manitoba maple base, and then do a template to have the glass cut out so it could be used as a sofa table or an entry table.
Jamie likes to separate herself from other wood crafters, and one way she does that is by only working with woods that are native to Canada. That includes Manitoba maple, ash, spruce, elm, oak, poplar, and birch. She admits the birch bark is one of her favorites.
And it does feel like top grain leather. It's a very, very beautiful product. You don't need any finish on it because it's so oily on itself.
Jamie uses birch bark on a variety of items, including this column, which could either be part of a larger piece or be a separate piece by itself. Over 400 pieces of birch bark went into creating this 3-dimensional effect around the column.
What looks like a square is a hexagon that's made of 3 different pieces. So each of these pieces had to be cut with separate angles and then put together to make the one square, and then put together to make the ziggurat design, and really makes your eyes almost get vertigo when I was making it because of the 3D effect of it.
Working with nature is an ongoing goal. These poplar pieces came to Jamie courtesy of the local beaver population.
And they took down about 11 of these one spring, and I got quite upset, and then I thought, well, they have to live here too. So we thought perhaps maybe we'll work together. So I cut them off and I lathed them and just put a tenon on there. And hopefully one of these days, this is a case where I found the wood, but I have no idea what the project's going to be. I've had these for 5 years, but eventually something will come to me, and perhaps a finial for a chair. But that'll be a a joint project between me and the beavers of Riding Mountain National Park.
Jamie enjoys doing custom projects for families, such as this one, where she's using siding from an old farm building to make very special and meaningful picture frames. She also enjoys finding a piece of unique wood and being inspired by it, thereby starting her next distinctive project. Earlier in the show, you saw Jamie Kucey's woodcrafting work. When her husband Reg retired from agricultural research, he decided on antler carving as a new career. His initial interest goes back about 20 years ago to a family camping trip. When they came across a set of antlers, their son asked Reg if he would make them into a slingshot. From then on, Reg was pretty much hooked.
A neat thing to work with, so I was playing with it, and James says, well, with drills and stuff like that, and James says, well, you need something better than this. So she bought me a Dremel for that Christmas, and that's when I started, and it's all been self-taught.
One of the most unusual and distinctive projects he has completed so far is the set of chess pieces.
So I decided to make each piece is individually carved with its own face and its own costume. It's an East Indian motif. The game of chess is debated whether it originated in India or if in the Middle East. So we went along with the Indian one.
Plenty of research went into this project, including finding out what different types of clothing would be worn by the different classes of people. The actual pieces were made mostly out of moose, deer, and elk antler.
The Rajas, which are the kings, the rooks, where these are actually copies of the corner towers from the Taj Mahal that were done. The soldiers, each of the individual soldiers has the armor used for that period, and the queens, which are done with the sari and so each one has an individual face, each one has an individual costume. The eyes are all then put in because it's very difficult to carve eyes, and I did them with Swarovski crystal.
One of Reg's most recent projects is this lobster. He got the idea while traveling in Japan, where they make ornamental lobsters out of material such as ivory or leather and usually keep them under lock and key behind glass. Reg, however, wanted to make a lobster that was more accessible.
And all the legs, all the parts, all move like a lobster does. The legs are all moved. It's all biologically correct. There's the right number of segments and they're the right size and they move the right way. The mouth parts all move and they lever as well. The antenna go back and forth and move, and the big claws move as well.
After seeing this lobster, we were not at all surprised to find out that Reg has over 500 hours of labor invested in this project. He says antlers are hard and brittle, which makes them very tricky to work with.
It's extremely strong, but if you want a piece that's curved, you have to either find it curved, or you have to cut it curved, or you have to carve it curved. You can't bend it, you can't soak it in vinegar or anything and try to play with shape. You have to carve it exactly what you need. So every joint, everything was all done by hand with very small bits to be able to get them to fit together so that they fit tight and move freely, but there's no sloppiness in the movement.
Reg was inspired to make this cluster of antler bamboo plants after visiting a friend's office and seeing real bamboo suffering from a lack of light. But Reg's plants, of course, don't need any kind of care.
Actually, the white ones would be elk antler, this color here. The ones with more of a bluish cast is deer antler. And I have to find straight pieces that are that long. And then I carve them individually, put them together with the dowel in between them on there to make the lengths. And then you have to carve each leaf and you put them all together to attach them on. The leaves are most likely, most of these would be, would be deer and elk antler.
So far, we've seen fairly elaborate sculptures, but Reg also makes attractive items which are much simpler.
This is out of a moose antler, this hermit crab, and it's carved from one piece. I have put some color onto the crab itself, but that's carved from one piece. And this bamboo box is carved from one piece of elk antler. That's hollow in the middle, but got the picture that looks like bamboo.
Most of the time, Reg works on his antlers separately from his wife Jamie's woodworking, but occasionally she'll help him out by making a distinctive wood base on which he can mount an antler carving. One important lesson they have learned is to give customers the full story behind each and every finished piece.
So on our website, we have the story for each piece that's available. That's inspiration, anything unique about it, the kind of antlers, the kind of wood, where the wood maybe it came from. Information that comes on that for each piece is on the website. And when a person buys a piece, we give them a signed sheet with all that same information on it that they can have to give them more information and feel more of a connection with the piece on it.
One drawback of antler work is that the dust can be hard on your lungs. Fortunately, Jamie utilized her woodworking skills and made Reg a vented dust cabinet where he is shielded by plexiglass. For more information on Inaka custom handmade furniture and art, feel free to visit their website at inaka.ca.